everyone. Thanks for tuning in to this week's mini episode of Watch Girls A to Z. As Elena mentioned in her last show, I have moved out to Hong Kong to work out of our great office here. As you can tell, we are clearly not in the typical studio, and this is not Elena. So who do I have sitting next to me? This is Josh Rolex. Josh, tell us a little bit about your history with Goffberg Jewelers and what you're doing in Hong Kong.
Sure. Well, I started with Goffberg about 6 years ago. When I first started, I was still in college, but working at the repair center, at which point I moved in towards the pre-owned department, doing purchasing and sales. Then fast forward about 6 years, here I am running the office in East Asia.
All right, so when did you come out here? Was there a trial period before you decided to move out here? Like, what made you commit to this amazing move to Hong Kong after living in Philly your whole life?
Well, first I came out here for just about a week in May of 2017, just to see what the city was all about and what we were setting up here. And within a few days I decided to stay. I liked it. It's a great place. And I'm planning on staying here for a few years at this point.
Yeah, so I came out almost a week and a half ago, and similar to Josh, I got here first time in Asia, first time in Hong Kong, of course, and just kind of fell in love with the city. I grew up in New York, so I'm used to the big city, and then living in Philadelphia, it was a little bit of a smaller city, a little bit slower pace. So coming out to Hong Kong, I feel at home already. It's been really, really exciting being here. And of course, working alongside Josh has been amazing. He showed me a lot of the cool areas in Hong Kong as well as the amazing areas to find watches in Hong Kong. So we'll get into kind of the differences in the Hong Kong market versus the U.S. But first, what we like to do is we like to give some little wrist shots. So obviously we'll have to send pictures because we can't zoom in here. But Josh, tell us a little bit about the watch you're wearing.
Sure, a little bit hard to see on this camera, but I'm wearing a Rolex 18038. It's a 36 millimeter single quickset Datejust with a brown vignette diamond dial. And I love vintage gold presidents. They're my favorite. I think they kind of scream that old 1980s kind of class, which I really appreciate. It kind of resonates with me. So it's just a very fun piece and a few of them, and that's my favorite watch. Yeah.
So as you know, I love vintage watches, and more specifically, I love Rolex, vintage Rolex. So as soon as I walked into the office and saw Josh's watch, I kind of lost my mind. I'm very, very jealous. But the good news about working out of Hong Kong is that vintage Rolex is extremely accessible out here. There are so many great dealers just off the streets of Hong Kong where you can find the most amazing vintage Rolex and at reasonable prices, I would say. So I am wearing my JLC Reverso. It's kind of hard to see. The sun is just rising in Hong Kong, so it's right directly on us, but it is the JLC Night and Day, so it has two different dials, and on the flip side, I'm currently wearing it to Hong Kong side, and then the other dial, I am wearing it to home time. So perfect watch for when you're living basically in two time zones, because we're still collaborating with our office in Philadelphia, so we kind of have to be on the pulse for U.S. time as well as Hong Kong time. I would say that's probably the hardest thing being out here is the time difference.
Yeah, the 13-hour time difference makes it a little bit interesting in terms of staying connected to everybody back home and making sure everything runs smoothly.
Lucky for Watchbox Hong Kong, Josh and I really don't sleep. So we're typically still communicating with the Philly office, even when it's the wee hours over here. All right, so I asked a few of my followers on Instagram to send in some questions that they had specifically for the Hong Kong market. I just arrived here, so I haven't really been able to learn the market as well as I know the U.S. market. I've gotten a couple interesting points that just from being out and working and meeting with dealers and then clients coming into our office, I've noticed that the saturation of the market here is just kind of tenfold compared to the U.S. The amount of boutiques and retailers and then watch shops that have hundreds of watches on display is just few and far to find. It's really, really mind-boggling, and I was shocked by it. So why do you think that is? Why do you think the market is so saturated, specifically in Hong Kong?
I think Hong Kong is, it's no secret that it's one of the most developed watch markets in the world. So on our, very short walk to work in the morning, it's about a 10-minute walk, you pass maybe 10 to 15 boutiques.
Mm-hmm.
Boutiques ranging from, 7 Friday all the way up to Patek boutiques and multiples of each. And it's just really crazy how much product is here and just, always in your face. It's really quite cool.
And on top of all the boutiques, on their walk, there's a bunch of different family-owned shops that have been around for a very long time, mostly dealing with vintage. But you kind of have a whole spectrum of what you can find here, from watches from the 1920s and super, super antique watches up to, as he mentioned, brand new pieces from Patek. And it's really, really impressive. So the other questions that we got are, what brands are strong in Hong Kong, and what particular models do you find people asking the most for?
I mean, like in the States, the most desirable watches are going to be your Patek Nautiluses and your AP Royal Oaks, especially the stainless steel pieces, blue dials, of course. Also with the AP watches, the new skeleton double balance has been extremely popular, very hard to find.
Justin, come say hi. So we're actually filming Watch Girl A to Z right now. If you want to pop in, yeah.
It's on TV right now?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Sorry for the interruption. So Josh, continue.
Sure. So you see everything from the stainless steel Patek watches up through the Royal Oak models with blue dials. Stainless steel Rolexes are king, of course. So things like that are really not too different from the States. The differences that we do see are that the really serious watch collectors here, it is not uncommon to find somebody who has a several hundred piece collection in their possession, which is really quite cool. And they have everything from the basic Rolexes and Pateks all the way through the grand complication pieces, whether it's repeaters or sonneries or openwork skeletons, just really beautiful and exceptional pieces.
So you just mentioned that's a big difference in the collectors that you're seeing here versus the U.S. Are there any brands that you've noticed collectors here being more excited about, or potentially watch brands that are here that have more value if you sell it in Hong Kong versus the U.S. market? Because I think styles and taste across the world are going to vary, of course. So there's going to be some watch brands here that are going to be more popular, maybe have a little more value, or potentially get a better deal because they're less popular here than the U.S.
Yeah, but I think a lot of the brands themselves are quite the same in terms of popularity. It's some of the models within those brands that might be more popular in Hong Kong as opposed to the States. And a lot of the pieces, in addition to grand complications that are really accessible and popular here, are going to be jewelry pieces. So watches with beautiful baguette settings or full pave decorations. Those watches are very highly sought after here.
I have noticed that a lot of people wear very, very big diamond pieces, where in Philadelphia you don't see it that often. Maybe in New York because it's so international, but in Philadelphia you definitely don't see the caliber of like the diamonds, really outstanding pieces that you're seeing in Hong Kong on a daily basis.
And you see pieces like the Rainbow Daytonas, all factory original pieces on the street. You can see a couple times a week people wearing. It's really, it's very exciting to see.
It is exciting, and it's just so different. Again, I'm really learning the market and excited to delve into it much deeper. I also was asked to give my perspective of a woman applying her trade in Hong Kong in a male-dominated industry. I unfortunately don't have an answer for that yet. We've mostly worked inside the office where we have private clients coming in. I think the more I start to work with dealers in Hong Kong, it will be a good indicator of how they react to a woman in the secondary market, where in the U.S., I think, obviously it's a bit unusual to have women in the industry that are specialists and understand value and can kind of trade on the fly, just like Elena in the U.S. And people are kind of surprised, but take well to it. So it's a little bit too soon to see, for me personally, how people here in the trade are going to react.
I think it'll be a great thing. You know, a lot of the collectors in Hong Kong are not only men, a huge percentage of those collectors are women. And they're either wearing ladies' pieces or men's pieces. I think having an experienced, woman's, opinion and guidance is going to be invaluable.
I hope so. Well, that's the point of why I'm here. And it's been really great talking to you guys, giving you a little more information about the market. As you can see, the sun is really starting to shine in this awesome office. And I think that's probably going to be it for today. Send us some questions for the next show. Hopefully with some technology improvements and collaboration, Elena and I will be on together for the next show. But we will see. So, Josh, thank you so much for doing this with me at a very, very early time this morning.
Thank you for moving to Hong Kong.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.